I'm joined now by Nicole Jansezian, CBN Israel. And Nicole, you have been in southern Israel all day today near the Gaza border, reporting on what's going on down there. Can you just give us a little bit about the vibe on the ground? It's been months now since October 7th, and are people back there? What's the situation?
No, actually, in fact, the place that we were at today, it was a kibbutz, less than a half a mile or about a half a mile from the Gaza border, and it's a closed military zone. We needed permission to get in, actually. There's nobody living there. There are people that are going back to work. These kibbutzes are agricultural communities. They also have dairy cows and that have to be milked. So they've got people working there. They have even, I saw today, some of their workers who were from Thailand who were also on October 7th, they were there. Many of their friends were killed. Some were kidnapped, but they have come back to work. So they were actually on the farm today. But other than that, most of the people in this area from where we're sitting now, all the way south, most of them are still living in hotels and other residences that they figured out, but all over the country. Like they're not back yet.
Yeah, and obviously you can't really get into Gaza. Really, they're not letting anybody in there except for very, very few media availabilities. So you're there near the border. I mean, when you're looking out over Gaza, what do you see there? Is there any activity still, or is that pretty much died down?
Yes, so I was really surprised. We're on the northern side of Gaza, like maybe in the top third, like is right here to our west, and you actually still hear the artillery fire. You hear tanks, or what you think is tanks. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but you hear explosions, and it's right here. And I was thinking, wow, didn't the military say they controlled? That Israel said, okay, we control the north, so now we're moving south. The whole issue, like 2 weeks ago, was about whether or not they're going to go into the Rafah crossing, which is all the way in the south. But no, this is like right here still in the north. And it seems like there's active fighting going on in Gaza City. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not reporting this like I know this is happening, but we heard several explosions or artillery fire going off while we were here.
Oh, very interesting. And so you mentioned that people can't, it's still a war zone there, considered in southern Israel. You're not really able to get back. These people have not been able to get back to their kibbutzes and the towns they live in. You're in Sderot. What's the morale like among the people you have talked to? Because this has been months now. And then like we're seeing around the world, we're seeing some world leaders, even here in America, start to criticize Israel more heavily. What is that doing, if anything, to the people's morale there in southern Israel and all across Israel?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help, but I would have to say, I think Israelis are more concerned with what's happening internally than what people are saying externally. I think Israelis are like, all right, we're used to this anti-Semitism, even though maybe it's like more unhinged than usual. But I feel like there's a lot going on internally that they're dealing with. There's still 130 hostages in Gaza. The families of the hostages are out every day protesting, whether Tel Aviv or Jerusalem. They're marching, they're blocking roads. There's these major protests, and these protests have now blurred into what we had before October 7th, the anti-government protests, the anti-judicial reform, Netanyahu. And you see, like, all of these issues are coming back up. So there's already a low morale domestically, not to mention what's happening externally. But I think that Israelis want to deal first with like what's happening on the ground. And people are struggling with some people, they're going back, they're moving back. This is my home. This is my land. I came here on purpose. Like someone we interviewed today. No, we're coming back. When we're allowed in, we're coming back. And then there's other people like, I will never live there again. I don't even want to go back. It's not my house. This is not my place. There's no way I can relive this. So there's, and then not to even, we didn't even mention the people in the north that, along the border with Lebanon, because Hezbollah is firing. I think they fired 70 rockets, missiles yesterday at Israel. something like that. And again today, I just like as we were talking, like I see the rocket alerts coming in. Um, so there's a military zone, like I think it's 5 miles from the border, and like all of those people, I think it's a couple tens of thousands of people also relocated within Israel, living in hotels or other residences. So so there's a lot of there's enough internal issues to deal with that are hot topics here to like that. It's not so much thinking about what's happening outside, trying to deal with their own stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you mentioned, I mean, look, the personal nature of this, the tragedy for so many people, you run into it everywhere you go across Israel. You on your travels back here, just from the, heading out of the Gazan border there, you ran into a personal experience of your own.
Yeah. Oh, this was unbelievable because, it's really when you get down to it, just to make this is a small country and everybody knows somebody. So CBN Israel is the humanitarian branch of CBN in Israel, and one of the things that we do is we support victims of terror. And just 2 weeks ago, we were interviewing this young woman, 26 years old, who was married on September 7th and widowed on October 7th.
Mm.
And it was, her story was just, she was still, it was still fresh. She's still talking about what she's going through. And so I had just re-listened to this yesterday, this run to our interview, and I was translating it from Hebrew. So anyway, we're then in the South today, and as we're driving north from Gaza, or from Nachal Oz, where we were, we see like there's the intersection that she talked about where the car rolled over and her husband was killed, and you're seeing it on your screen now. That is her husband, and I was like, wait, I recognize him. So we stopped the car, we went over to see. This is exactly where it happened. They were at the party. I'm sure a lot of people heard the music festival that was going on in the South. There were hundreds of people there, maybe over 1,000, and in the end, 370 people were killed at the site of the music festival. But they jumped in their car and they're like, oh, we're going to get out of here. They didn't at the time know that there were terrorists. They just thought it was rockets. And they were driving north on that road right there. And her husband was driving the car. He swerved to get away from a Hamas roadblock right at that intersection. And the car flipped over and landed in this ditch. And he was killed instantly. He was shot in the head. The other 3 people in the car somehow survived, and she said it was a miracle. They were there for 5 hours before the army came. He heard people being kidnapped. She heard a woman being raped. It's confirmed by the police. Like they translocated the cell phones of her and the woman who was raped and then killed, by the way. So yeah, like we interviewed her in Haifa, which is in the north of Israel, and here we are, hours south in the south of Israel, and her story just came together for us today. But it was very, very moving.
It's unthinkable to imagine what some of these people went through, and that one really just hit home, just giving those few details right there. Very, very powerful. And you mentioned that CBN Israel is helping people, victims of terror in this particular case. Can you explain and expand a little bit on what sorts of things CBN Israel is engaging in on the ground there?
Yeah, sure. So CBN Israel has a wide range of outreaches, and victims of terror is one of them. And of course, since October 7th, a lot of our aid has been like in the war effort, because with the war, everything was impacted, like, even food security. We just, one of the places that we support is, it's an organization that's the largest food distribution center in Israel. And they said that you wouldn't believe like how quickly, the food security was affected. And for people who had to be, were displaced, or now the volunteers who bring them food can't reach them, or they're evacuated. So it's just like a trickle down, like, or a ripple effect of issues that people are facing. And so we've come alongside a lot of these organizations also. So we do a lot of things. An organization with children that help children with special needs. We supported their war effort as well. and another place to setting up like home hospitals and providing wheelchairs for soldiers who were injured in the war, uh, and families, like things that will keep families together. So there's many projects, and I mean, I could go on and on with the details because so many of them now are coinciding with the news you hear about on the grounds. Every day we hear something, we're like, wow, that's like, I didn't even think of that from that perspective, but it's impacted every area of life here in Israel.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really great. I think so many people watching here in America and abroad who want to help and who have an affection for the nation of Israel and want to help out, and they can do so. Go to cbnisrael.org. That is the website where you can be the hands and feet of Christ here in this situation, and you can donate and you can help Nicole and her team and their efforts on the ground, and know that they are there meeting needs for people across Israel. And so, Nicole, how can we be praying as Christians here? Obviously, we can help. You've given us that a way to do that through CBN Israel and all the work you guys are doing on the ground there. How can we be praying for the people of Israel and for the people of Gaza as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. I asked, the beneficiaries. I always ask them, like, that question, because what is it that they need? And I think their answer is the best answer I can give you. There's a woman we spoke with whose husband died in the car on the roadside there. I asked her that question. She said she's learning to take steps like a baby learns his first steps all over again. And I feel like that's symbolic of all of Israel, because October 7th was unprecedented and just on so many levels. And Israel is learning to take its steps again in some ways, entering this brave new post-October 7th world that it finds itself in. So I think that's one way that God would really direct and guide the steps of this nation, of the people, as they move forward. I would also, I always say you need to pray for the Palestinians, whether they're in Gaza or the West Bank, that there is also suffering there, but they also do need wisdom in how to move forward, because it's still unknown what is going to happen. I mean, from what I heard just this morning with rockets and or not rockets, it was like tank fire and artillery fire right here. It's still going on, so we can't say when it's going to end or how it's going to end. So I mean, they need your prayer. Everybody here would need.
Yeah. Yes. And as we see the politicians and everybody online sort of argue about the details, regardless of the numbers, whatever the actual numbers are, we know people are suffering, and we know innocent people are suffering as well. And we know there's bad guys that need to be caught as well. So these are all things that we can be praying for. And if you want to help out, again, you can go to cbnisrael.org. Nicole, thanks so much for spending a few minutes of your time. I know you've had a busy day out there in southern Israel reporting and helping folks in need. And so appreciate the updates and look forward to hearing more from you soon.
Thank you so much, Dan.